Alright, what are we doing? What are we up to? Oh, that's right, I just finished my alien scene. Alright, looking pretty cool. Nice. Man, I'm so glad that's done. Took me so long getting all those textures on all those objects. Let's render. Actually, you know what? Let's take a look at something for a moment and just... Whoa. Looks like I haven't quite been being very orderly in how I use my textures. Eee. What a mess. Alright, let's just create a folder. Alien.
A few minutes later.
Look at that clean desktop. Let's continue. Alright. And then we get back into Blender and go into render mode. Huh. Everything's purple. Oh no. What did I do? Oh no. You know how many hours I spent putting that together? I have to get each one of those textures applied again. I should have just kept everything neat to begin with. Hello everyone, it's Daniel Benton here, and today I just wanted to go over a short video, just as a quick tip talking about keeping your resources ordered as a 3D artist. Now this is a very important tip. It works in pretty much any field where you use a computer. It's just good practice to have everything where you can find it quickly and easily. As a 3D artist, I end up using a lot of resources, whether it be sounds, textures, videos, all sorts of stuff, and 3D models of course. And I basically have folders where I order my different resources. So basically I've got a sound folder where I've got all the sound I've ever downloaded that I can use freely in my projects. I've also got textures, and here I've ordered a bunch of different categories. Now, an important thing to remember is where are you getting your resources from? You know, whether you're using Substance Source, the Quixel Megascans library, textures.com, which is a great site that I use, Polygon, or HDRI Haven, which is now actually known as Polyhaven. And there are also many other sites where you can get resources for your art. But you've always got to remember where you've got stuff from. So just check the page of the resource you're downloading and just check what the usage rights are so that you know what you're allowed to do with it. Because you don't want to go down the track having uploaded a work and then get in trouble for it later. Alright, so basically what I've done in my textures folder, I've named different categories. So I've got free use, which is where I get most of my stuff in a project. I've got my own textures that I've made. I've got stuff from textures.com, a bunch of different sites like TextureMax or Texture Ninja, Polygon, and anything in my free use folder is stuff that I've either paid for or was already free and Creative Commons to begin with. And so that's stuff that I can use without hassle in any of my projects. So if I go in my textures.com folder, everything is just ordered nicely. I've got grunge, glass, grass, walls and floors, wood. If I go in there, I even order into different sizes. Like I've got my smaller files, my 1K stuff out here, and I've got 4K versions of stuff in this folder. And so I can quickly find my different textures and my different materials. Now it's even better to put your different materials into their own folders. I believe there's actually a Blender add-on that allows you to quickly create a material based on a folder of material textures. But yeah, it's just really nice to do that. I haven't done that, but it's still pretty easy because everything's just named the same according to the material. So I've got one material here, and then I've got another blank material here. So yeah, but usually you can also say create a new folder, and then we'll get, this one is rough wood planks, so we'll name this folder rough wood planks, and then we'll get all the rough wood plank textures. Yeah, that's all of them, and we'll put those in there. And there we go. Now we've got a folder with all our textures for our one material there. So that's really nice. And you can do that for all your materials, and that just keeps everything ordered nicely. So just keeping everything in folders is just really helpful, because you don't want to move things because you've created a mess of all your textures. I remember I used to have my textures on my desktop, and then eventually I decided I had enough and I moved it all to where it is now. And suddenly all the textures I had connected in Blender files suddenly stopped working because I had moved them. So Blender didn't know how to find them, so I had to reconnect them. But yeah, it's just whenever you download something, don't be lazy. Don't leave a texture in your downloads folder. Just find a place for it, a place that you know you're going to leave it. A library of textures. Put in a folder that you're going to remember so that you don't have to move it. And that way you can just come with each project and grab each texture that you need, and then it's likely not to get disconnected at any point because you're not going to move it. Now, there are some people who order their textures based on projects. I know this is how Maya usually works. Maya usually sets up a whole bunch of folders for each project, and then you can just put your textures in there. I prefer not to do that. I prefer to have a single library where I have all my resources and then just pull from that for whichever project I need. But I do know some people like to have different textures per project. But yeah, just make sure you make that distinction and decide how you're going to set up where you put your textures. That way it's easy to manage. Alright. So yeah, that's my folder of all my textures. I also have a folder called Not Free. This is mainly old stuff because I don't get stuff anymore that I know I'm not going to be able to use in all circumstances. But it's just older stuff that I'm not sure about, or I know that I don't have full rights to use. And yeah, so it's just stuff that I know that I should be careful using these images. And then of course I've got logos and icons. Again, someone else's brand. I've got different game studio logos. I've got different like I've got the PlayStation logo. I've got a bunch of different things that belong to other different brand names, and you got to be careful with that too. So that's why they're in there. And then I've also got references, which are obviously never going to make it into my projects because they're just files for my eyes only. So they don't make it into your final work. They're just to help with things you're working on as inspiration. So I can really put anything in there that I like, and I've ordered it into different folders based on category. And so yeah, it's just really helpful to have a setup or a library where you can just save specific textures or images or resources of any kind so that you can draw on them later. There are also programs like I think Quixel Bridge, which allow you to access materials easily there, and I think Substance has an equivalent. But yeah, just for when you're just downloading your files and resources, it's nice to order them properly on your hard drive. Makes it much easier working on projects down the track. But yeah, there's so many places you can get resources. I named a few of them. I personally really like textures.com, but there are also other places like Flipped Normals. I know on their store they have a bunch of creators making materials, selling packs for low prices, which is great. There's also Gumroad and Blender Market. Heaps of places now are selling digital resources for artists. So it's great time to be a 3D artist or even a 2D artist. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed this video, guys. It was just some quick tips on ordering your stuff. I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye, guys.